What's going on, sassy gamers? Today is May 6th, 2021, and this is episode 47 of Got Our Attention Podcast. And it's pretty impressive.
That was impressive.
I'm actually impressed that we're still doing this almost a year in now, that we've actually survived doing this, because
I knew we would be. I had no question.
And we even brought in a new person. Bruno, you still around? Some were worried about you last week that you potentially...
I'm still here.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because...
Censored, but not gone.
We put you in a box. That's basically what happened.
Hey, me too.
We all put it, all of us in a box.
It's like, it is a box, but it's almost like it's made of like plastic wrap or something. Sometimes we just like morph it a little bit.
Yeah, just
bleep
a little
here, a bleep there, you know.
Yeah, it's fine. The bleeps, it's really easy.
I'm going to make you edit your own audio.
I was going to say, it's really easy to get the bleeps in there. There's like a program that does it. It's automated. All we have to do is just run it through.
It's not released yet.
Really cool. It's got a really cool name. It's called Phoenix Nova.
Phoenix Nova software, yeah.
No, it's called Bleep. It's not me.
Oh, man.
You're going to edit your own bleeping audio, let me tell you.
Yeah, we started a little...
I got to bleeping do it sometime.
Man, I'm too close.
We started a little later.
No one wants to see my face that close.
Live this time. So if you listen to the podcast, obviously you don't know if we started later or not, but we did start a little later today. I'd kind of been talking about music in the past and how I'd done that previously, and then recently we've been talking about different things and kind of got the itch.
Oh my God, cut to the chase. You did a Zycia. You made changes right before the podcast like you do frequently because you're an adrenaline junkie.
I wouldn't say
you want to live on the
junkie.
edge.
I wouldn't say that's the case, but yeah, I did.
You want to be like 5 minutes before the scheduled time going, is it going to work?
Yeah.
He's like, I got a new toy. And it's like, well, you can wait to play with it till later. And he's like, no, I can't.
I'm like,
it's got to be now.
Bet.
It's kind of like him in games, right? He starts playing something. He's like, this is cool. But he's like, but then there's that one over there. And it's like, I could keep playing this and wait to play that, but I could just go and play that.
Pretty much it. I mean, I'm very impatient when it comes to things like that. So I literally got some new music toys and I wanted to try them out, which obviously is audio related. And, you know, like Brian said, yeah, let's do things that changes on the day of. And
yeah, but I mean, that explains today. That doesn't explain the rest of the times that you've done that exact same thing.
Well, right. I mean, I have to do other things that, you know.
That's the adrenaline junkie part. You have to do these things so that you can, like, not know if you're going to be ready to podcast or not.
Yeah. But I'm good at it now.
And solve it. It's really the solving it that I think that you like the best.
Yeah, see, that's kind of why, you know, the work that I do, it's why, because I like to solve things. And I have to create my own puzzles and problems so I can solve them. Oh, whoa. Man. That was interesting.
I think it was Bruno.
Yeah. So, anyway.
I think a dog just happened to the mic.
Yeah.
Or no, it was Beard. Beard just happened
my
to the
beard.
mic.
My beard just happened to the mic.
Yes, Beard just happened.
But yeah, anyway, so I figured my fault on starting a little later than usual for those who are watching live. But yeah, whatever. It happens.
It's not late. We start when we start. That's always the case.
Precisely at the time that we mean to be, or whatever. Whatever that quote is.
Yeah. When we show up, the party starts.
It's an interesting day. We have some news. It's actually pretty exciting. We do have some news that is quite sad. And then we have some other random things that we obviously find every week. But one of those sad things is pretty sad. It's kind of like, you know, losing a part of yourself, I guess you could say. But anyway, without further ado, we'll jump into the news.
Yeah, and the first piece of news that we have is not sad. It's actually really, really cool, and I'm excited for it. I've mentioned this before, I think, even on this podcast, and certainly I've mentioned it in conversations with friends, and I'm sure that many of the people who will listen to this have probably also talked about it. If you're a console gamer, in this case specifically on Sony's PlayStation consoles, you've probably come across the idea of, wouldn't it be nice if when I'm playing crossplay games, I had something other than PSN to talk to people so I could actually use voice chat? Well, Sony has officially announced a partnership with Discord. And from what they're saying, they intend to bring integration with Discord to the PlayStation platform as early as 2022, like early 2022. So that's a big deal. They actually purchased they made a minority investment for Discord. So that's something that's coming around the corner pretty soon.
Yeah, and that was obviously we had talks a few weeks ago about Microsoft. There was rumors that Microsoft was trying to buy Discord and add that to their collection of many things that they have now, and that kind of fell through. And then out of the blue, we hear this news that now Sony has a partnership with Discord. So there's good things about this. The first part being obviously PlayStation users are going to be able to have something way more reliable for communication versus crossplay versus just using the PlayStation Network. And then also, being able to join communities, because Discord is also about communities, right? It's not just about the servers that you're in with your friends or, use it for just voice talks or whatever. You can also join communities based on gaming. So if like you're playing, let's say Dark Souls, and you wanted some tips and tricks, you could just join the Discord for Dark Souls, one of the many I'm sure that are out there, and be able to find players like you or get tips and tricks and hints or whatever that may be listed on their Discord server. So that's really neat. And then the second part of this is that they didn't buy Discord, so Discord is still its own entity. There's a minor stake now that Sony is now going to be purchased and owned. But that also leaves Discord available to be their own company still. Like there was talks about them going IPO eventually, and that's really interesting and really cool news for them to be able to do something else, but also be able to maintain their identity, which I think is huge for Discord, because there's a lot of things they've done. Like I've mentioned recently with the voice talking for the speaker priority for like multiple larger events, when you have like people like do conventions like the talks where they have people hosting and they want people to ask questions and things, and then what's the whole COVID world that we're in, everybody's using Zoom and using Discord now to communicate, and that's really neat that they're going to be able to continue that moving forward.
Yeah, I think it'd be hilarious if Microsoft just integrated Discord into the Xbox. I mean, if you think about it, it would take very little effort. Because the Xbox platform runs on a Windows kernel. Mm-hmm. And they already have a Discord app in the Windows Store. And all they'd have to do is write the front end hooks into Xbox and then allow games to like connect into those hooks. I mean, they could do it. They
could still, because they're not owned by Sony. So that wouldn't be surprising to me if we do end up seeing Xbox users able to use Discord as well as an app or whatever.
Yeah.
Even as an overlay like they do on PC with playing different games.
I want that to happen. It'd make life so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny that I was using, so back in the day there was TeamSpeak, obviously, that most people used for whatever online gaming you were doing. And that was actually probably the closest that I've used to Discord, because I also moved to another one called GameVox. And that one was a way to get friends together and like you can join, but you couldn't break out into different rooms. And then obviously Discord like kind of came out of nowhere, and they were like, it's free. And then you can like have like text rooms, you could have voice rooms. And I'm like, this is kind of like TeamSpeak, but there's like text that I can do rather than just the channel. So there's a lot of interesting things, but they kind of came out of the blue and then they kind of blew up. I mean, they just kind of kept going until here we are.
And one of the advantages over TeamSpeak is it's so asynchronous. You can like leave the Discord channel and the discussion's still going on in there. Yeah. And you can come back and you can catch up on what was said if you wanted to.
As far as the text rooms,
usually not worth it, but well, yes, for the text side. But that's what I'm saying is, like initially people thinking just like TeamSpeak, but then it gives you a lot more functionality.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just such a nice addition to console. Like if you go back 1 month to the release of Outriders, that was actually a major, that was the deciding factor as to why the people that I knew purchased the game on PC, was because they were like, oh, well, we already play on console and we've been playing the demo and we have all these characters and like these legendaries. But then it's like, okay, well, there's a few of us on PC that have the same things. So like, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And we could have still played crossplay across multiple consoles, but then the voice communication would have been annoying. And we actually had the discussion. We're like, man, like we wish that Discord existed. And because of that, instead of people playing it on PlayStation or Xbox, they purchased it on PC so that we could all play together.
Yep.
With having voice chat.
I mean, there's people that solve that already. They play on console and they're literally on Discord on their phone.
That's what I was about to mention.
It's just not the...
It's
a weird setup, though. It's janky.
It's same thing on the Switch. When I was off for work for business, and like later that afternoon, like when I got back to the room, I had my Switch with me, and I was wanting to play Rocket League with my friends, and I bought it on Switch, but I played on PC, but the only way to play was on Switch, so I did that, and then the way to get voice chat going was to pull up Discord on my phone and just put my my little earbud in, and do that. So it was that was the way I was able to communicate. So
I'm sorry, Bruno just looked like he was yes. Well, he was having dog problems there.
I was having some dog problems. He's lonely, okay?
Yeah.
Poor guy.
The expression on your face was just priceless, though.
If you don't know,
he was falling off of my lap. He's not very smart.
For those of you who can't see what's happening right now, if you're just listening, he has a Pomeranian named Drakkar, and he is like a big fluff ball. He's an ex-model. He used to be a model, and he's very, very just chill.
I mean, little known fact that he modeled and they based a roly-poly off of him.
But yeah, he's just a ball of fuzz. It's just funny.
Moving on, Breaking Tuesday was some very interesting news that 3 of the founding members of Giant Bomb left. And it was actually very interesting because both friend of the podcast, Squirrel, along with myself, were both messaging Zycia within probably with 6 minutes of each other.
Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. He beat me by like 6 minutes or something like that. And it could be because he was probably listening to it live, because their podcast, the Giant Bombcast that they did that day, they announced it on that. And it's just really interesting because, Giant Bomb started about 2008.
This is sad. This is the sad news, by the way.
Yeah. But Jeff Gerstmann and Ryan Davis left or similar times from GameSpot at the time. It's a story you can look up, and no one knows all the details of the story because even Jeff's under some like legal, basically NDAs where he can't talk about certain things about him leaving GameSpot. But he left. Ryan Davis, they found somebody that had started some websites through Whiskey Media, and they brought in other people that they knew that they had worked with, like Brad Shoemaker, Vinny Caravella, and Alex Navarro. And those are the 3 that just left Giant Bomb. And they had brought in some other people as well. And they started that when the whole concept of personalities being on the internet and being part of your entertainment and some of your news and whether you're talking about influencers, I mean, really personalities being on the internet is kind of what started the trend towards influencers. And they had just started doing some of those concepts at GameSpot, and they took that forward to Giant Bomb, and they started the stuff really before you could put video on the internet very easily. YouTube in its early days, YouTube only allowed like, I think 5 or 15-minute videos. It was very small. So they couldn't do the type of format that they did. And they, built this out of very small beginnings. Very many times it could have collapsed and almost did. And then later on got bought out by CBS Interactive, who had bought out GameSpot. So now they were working under the same roof again. But that's fine because it really wasn't the site that, really was the problem. It was some new management that had come in that disagreed with Jeff on a number of things that ended up firing him. So that management had been moved on by the time they were under CBS Interactive, and they kind of became good friends, as it were, again. So when you look at it now, with these three people leaving, Jeff Gerstmann is really the only founding person left, because Ryan Davis sadly had passed away many years ago at this point. Still fresh in a lot of people's memories. He's undeniably a big part of that site through many of its early years. But I mean, you're talking 2008 till now. I mean, like 14 years some of these people were working there. And, Mike was just saying, hey, we're on, episode number 47. And like, holy cow, we might make a year. And it's weird because Vinny Caravella and Alex Navarro basically left the San Francisco offices and went out to the New York offices and worked at a CBS, actually not even a CBS. It was an office primarily owned by TV Guide. And they worked in an office full of salespeople. So they were the weird ones there that did this video game stuff. And, they would leave slightly drunk after a film in 40s, or they would hear Abby screaming because she's doing some of her Halloween stuff. She has since left as well. But they went out there and they opened this New York office, and they started, the second podcast, the Beastcast, which I think this Friday is the last one with 321 episodes.
Wow.
So, I mean, even that, which is the shorter of the two, Bombcast is over 600 episodes. It's a legacy that you talk about. And they recently went through another buyout, which is when Abby left and when Ben, one of the other people that worked with them, had left recently. So you got a whole bunch of things going on. You got a buyout, you got people leaving, you got a lot of, for different reasons. Some people just want to move on with their career in a different way. Certainly people aren't focusing on the reasons why they leave. They're focusing on hey, my time's up and I want to move on and I want to do something new. And hey, these are the awesome things in the past, which is really cool. Jeff Gerstmann did say, though, he's still there. And he's really excited because it's really the first time in their 14-year history that, well, I mean, they've always been this ancillary thing for so many companies. Even when with Whiskey Media and stuff, the other things they didn't really pioneer, but that they were successful at was doing subscriptions. Even when they worked for CBS, they still continued to bring in subscriptions that paid for themselves. But he says now, under this new company that they're at, he says they're not coming to us saying, oh, well, you got to do things our way, or you got to which some of those aren't going to work, or not knowing what to do with them. They're coming to them with we want to grow you crazy big. We want to really expand. We want to really shake things up. What ideas do you have? Let's expand on those. Here's some ideas we got. So he's kind of excited about the future still, even, everyone is sad that the three latest founding members are leaving, but I don't know. Should be interesting to see how it goes from here.
Yeah. I mean, they're, Giant Bomb is one of those, like he said, has been out for a long time. And there's a lot of other, groups that have spawned out after them. Like Funhouse comes to mind. It's one of the groups that I used to watch a lot, and they've actually fizzled out to this point, which just came from Rooster Teeth, which was another group of people that did things. And even in the IGN podcast that they've done, those people as well. So a lot of these things have kind of spawned off ever since the beginning of when Giant Bomb kind of started this. And all those people obviously do things going forward, and they all have different things that they end up recreating later in another group or whatever. So we'll probably see some of those same people again later, but it's just interesting to see those people, like, the transition of like starting something, doing it a long time, and then it's like, maybe we do want to do something new, and then you end up seeing some of those people work with some other people that you didn't really realize or expected to work together. So it's kind of bittersweet. It's those people are moving on to do something new, and obviously Jeff Gershman's going to have more like you said, freedom almost to like get that to grow, and we'll see some really cool content most likely come from that. But then we'll also see these people going off in the future, potentially, depending on what their reasoning was to leave, we may see some new stuff coming from them as well. So
I mean, it's really easy. One thing that comes to mind is that a lot of sad endings lead to happy beginnings as well.
Yeah. Kind of like Phoenix, right? Phoenix.
Yep. Rebirth from the fire. Right.
So, yeah. So there you have it. That happened this week, and way to talk about it.
So moving on to some more in our wheelhouse game news.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this last week with Knockout City is a dodgeball type game. It's going to be coming to consoles here May 21st. It's going to be free on EA Play and free on Xbox Game Pass. And it's got, kind of cool visual style to it. It's kind of interesting. But I ran across this article from the developers that went beyond interesting, straight to fascinating. And they wanted to have this as a good, fast-paced game, fun to play, but able to be played on the internet. And they face some of the same problems that, like, for instance, first-person shooters face all the time. Concepts of like, I pull the trigger at this time on my computer and you are running a certain direction when I pull that trigger, but maybe you've actually changed direction and I don't know about it because there is a slight little bit of lag. And, what do you do? What do you do with the bullet? What do you do with the dodgeball? And they actually ended up writing whole new source code. They wrote their own programming language to the point where they could make this whole concept a lot easier. And what they do is they make the server in the middle, the ref, which is that's a common thing in the FPSs. That's not new news.
Yeah.
But they made it the ref so much that not only is it keeping track of what you do and what I do, and then it makes the decision whether or not a ball is caught, whether a ball hits somebody, knocks them out, whether the ball misses. It's making those decisions. But the way they put it is that the server is the referee and it's living in the past. And I don't mean living in the past like your grandpappy who's sitting there in front of you and remembering the good old days and telling you about them.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, Pepperidge Farm. Not a sponsor. Could be a sponsor if they reach out to us. Looking for sponsors. No, it's literally that it's living in the past. It is making predictions and looking at what the inputs are coming in. Milliseconds, multiple milliseconds back in the past. And what we're seeing now is decisions that it's already made. So everything in the present, decisions it's already made, things that it's already figured out that are going to happen to not only determine whether a ball hits, but to make sure visually it looks the same on both clients, on all clients. All the multiplayer clients should see the same thing now. And what that ref is doing now is actually figuring out what we're going to see in the future. So it's constantly living in the past and working towards the future. So it's really cool article that's on Kotaku. I'm barely scratching the surface here. In fact, even I think the article barely scratches the surface. I really think that there's some fascinating things. I'm curious if this is going to be, I don't know, kind of similar to like GGPO, which is the rollback code that's used in a lot of fighting games for similar reasons. It's a similar concept. I'm curious to see if this new thing that they developed is going to be translatable to other things like FPSs. And we see that maybe they license this out to, other game developers. Would be kind of interesting.
Is this already implemented in their game?
Yeah, so this is already this is how they built their game.
Do we know what the player feedback is on it? Does it feel good? Does it feel?
They don't say much about that yet, but we'll find out real quick on the 21st.
If you go back to the dawn of Path of Exile, they created a system that was not the same, but similar, which was their desync system. So their idea was back then, their infrastructure and game clients didn't have the capabilities of communicating in a way to where they felt that it was a reliable experience for all players. So they implemented desync. And essentially that let the server calculate what it believed was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So even if you perceived one thing, the server could decide that something else happened, and you could react in a way that you thought was fine, but because you reacted in that way and the server calculated differently, it proceeded to murder you on your hardcore character and cost you 137 hours worth of your life. Not that happened to anybody I know.
What about
Sorry,
you?
Correction, it's a Polygon article, not a Kotaku article.
It's cool though, because it's been a lot of years now, right, since they implemented that system. Mm-hmm. They did do away with that system now that everything's more stable. But if somebody's done it correctly to where you don't have those kinds of issues where everybody perceives things differently, sounds like they definitely aim to make it unified.
Well,
so I'm interested to see what the player response is.
The interesting thing about this is that what they seem like they're trying to do is to make sure that everybody perceives the same thing.
Yeah.
So that you don't have that contention, that it decides what the actions are. So then it feeds that back to the game client. So then everybody sees the same thing.
I mean, that'd be interesting in first person shooters if they can kind of translate that over and maybe sell it to them. Because, I mean, that is one of the things. Desync's a huge one in FPS. It's like, I shot that player, but like on my screen, I didn't see anybody, but yet, and then a lot of people think that
reverse of it.
Yeah, you feel like you get hacked, like you thought somebody shot you and there was nobody, but it's like, well, they were there, but you just didn't see them because of the desync.
Or the reverse is like people like there's videos and highlights of like players like Shroud where they're so good at these games that they're capable of shooting within server ticks to the point where somebody is like, he didn't even shoot me. But on his screen, he 100% shot where you were going to be based on what the server was going to place you at and killed you. And you're like,
yep.
Yeah.
What? How do I stop that?
Exactly.
The guy who wrote this article did actually play it. He did mention that his first experience with the game was a press-only remote demonstration with a 2019 Alienware Area 51M laptop. So I'd imagine 2019, not too shabby of a laptop. And he said that it was really choppy frame rate at the time, but everyone was in sync, playing together. And then the weekend immediately afterwards that he played in a closed beta, and he says it ran much more cleanly, less choppy. And that, he was pretty much impressed with the gameplay. And this is very much, not only is it like just dodgeball, but there's literally some special moves that some characters can do where they are effectively snipers from across the map. And it has to be where everybody's on the same page of whether or not that sniper shot hit or the person caught the ball. So they really wanted, the way they were talking about it, it almost sounded like they were talking about an FPS with the amount of precision that they were talking about. So again, it's going to be out on Game Pass. So I'll definitely be picking it up.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
And I'm going to be excited to give it a shot.
Yeah, speaking of Game Pass, though, Dragon Builders 2 is on there. We should probably check that out, too. Just saying. It's multiplayer.
Yeah, I strongly suggest Dragon
I've actually downloaded it, but I just haven't played it yet.
I've played 100+ hours of it on the Switch.
All right. Well, that's our news for right now. Hang tight for just a few minutes and listen to a word from me, actually, but about our sponsor. So hang tight. And we're back. So we had an interesting discussion during our little intermission here, which was quite nice. And those of you watching live are like, "What are you talking about? We just did this. Why are you ignoring us?" And
Daydrinker says opinions are important.
They are important. So we're going to get into what we've been playing. And usually every week, if this is your first time ever listening, we do play Game of the Moment, which we call every Tuesday. And we pick a game, and we've changed the format of it now. We actually have typically one person playing it or showing their screen of the game being played, and then us other two, along with that person's on camera on the side, and we kind of just have a discussion about the game, talk about it, play it, and so forth and so on. So that's kind of what we've been doing. So the game this week was Breath of the Wild 1.5. I'm sorry, no, that's what we have written down here, but that's actually not right. The game was actually Craftopia. No, sorry, that's not right either. The game was actually called Craftopia, and
I thought that's what you just said.
And
yeah, okay. You know what? Zyce's a little biased because the game kind of looks
super biased.
a little bit like Breath of the Wild.
A little bit.
All right. Which, to be totally honest, Breath of the Wild ripped off
I was editing the video. My wife walks in while I'm editing the video. It's still frame too. It's not even playing. It's just still frame. And she looked at it and she goes, "Is that Breath of the Wild?" It doesn't look a little bit like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's pretty much straight up Breath of the Wild. And I mean, you even made the joke of Breath of the Wild 1.5. So I will say, I'll let Bruno obviously talk about it more in full, because he played it. We talked about it. We saw it. We got to listen to it. But ultimately, looking at the game at first glance, definitely looks like Breath of the Wild ripoff. That's literally what it looks like. And then as we watched him play a little further, I think we almost played like 2 hours. There's a lot of differences in this game than the actual core gameplay of Breath of the Wild or like a Zelda game. But it's just the aesthetics definitely look like Breath of the Wild.
Zyce just grabbed the mic and he's all like, "I'm going to let you talk, but Craftopia totally ripped off Breath of the Wild. Here you go."
Craftopia is a Breath of the Wild looking crafting, survival, multiplayer, RPG, farming simulation, life simulation,
automation
simulation, automation game. It's like all the genres put into one. It is a early access title on Steam that regularly costs $25. It's all of the decent to really great functions that exist across many, many different games of those genres stolen or recreated, I guess it's a nicer word to use, and then slammed into one game and then wrapped in 60% to 80% Breath of the Wild animations and art in order to make it look more appealing. Yeah. And that's quite literally what the game is. I'm not like that's as good of a description as I can give.
It's not hyperbole at all. It literally has the building system of Fortnite.
Right.
It like when you see it build walls and what they call sloped walls instead of ramps or diagonal walls, I think they called it. It looks identical to Fortnite. The way it builds everything. And it even has like the total disregard for physics and structural integrity, as Demiran had pointed out, that Fortnite has. It has the glider out of Breath of the Wild. The aesthetics are completely Breath of the Wild. It has got weapons borrowed from all kinds of games, including World of Warcraft. And that's the sad part, because that's what everybody's going to remember. Mm-hmm. And behind all that is this game that, even for early access, absolutely looks like it's got an incredible amount of depth. There's these different ages that you open up, and each of the age has tons and tons of items that you can craft. And you can just not craft a whole bunch of them you want to, just advance to the next age. The ages all the way up to the point where they have biplanes and motorcycles and spaceships. Some of those aren't released yet. See above conversation. It's early access. And then there's your skill system and your combat system that have equal amounts of depth to it. Now, is some of this depth for depth's sake? Possibly. Jamiron's put a number of hours in it. He can tell you whether he thinks it's fun or not. It looked like that it could be a fun time.
The game gets progressively more ridiculous as time goes on. And
it
starts off already ridiculous. So eventually you get to like great magics and stuff where you're like raining down meteors and you've got fighter jets and biplanes and mechs and like giant dragons with powerful magic and cannons and rocket launchers, and it's just weird. You start with like nothing, you craft your first weapon, it's a wooden stick, and then 80 hours later you're like, I'm going to
bring
space.
It.
So one of the things,
the crazy thing.
Well, one of the things that I noticed was, at the first look, this game definitely looks like it ripped off, and that not just the Breath of the Wild. We mentioned Fortnite. We mentioned, I think during the stream, we also mentioned there's a few other ones that we came across.
Well, I mentioned the sword from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, World of Warcraft. So it's almost like they took
it has a hoverboard race.
Yeah,
which actually is been used in several games.
Yeah. But it's almost like they took a survival game that they were building and they were like, you know what? We should just skin this with Breath of the Wild. We should just take the game that we made and just skin it to look like Breath of the Wild. So that way we can do that. And that's kind of how I feel like they did this game. But ultimately, there is a lot of crafting. And I talked about it on the stream too. But as somebody who does like a lot of survival games like this, the other key perk about this is also it can be played multiplayer. So you can host a server for your friends to join you, and you guys can go off together and do this whole like adventure / building survival and advancing through the ages. So that was one of the things that was very interesting about it. But at the same time, like I think watching Demiran play it, and as a group, even not playing it but just watching him play it, it was entertaining. I could see this being entertaining with like me playing with people. I think that'd be pretty entertaining. I don't know the amount of exciting factor playing this single player. I don't know if I would enjoy that as much.
I think it's exciting to play single player right now because it's early access. I think because there's resources, like you cannot go 3 steps without seeing 5 of the resources that you need. It's all over the place. That I highly, highly doubt that that's still going to be that way after early access, which means it's going to become grindy. And with that much stuff, that much depth and all those things, if that goes grindy, that's going to be a slog and boring. This actually looks like a game that could very well be super exciting to play in early access and terrible to play once it's released. No. Unless they lean into it and just say, let's just go all out ridiculous. Let's give you the tools let's just give you the resources, give you the tools, give you everything you want so that you can just do just a ridiculous fun time. And if they do that, it could probably stay fun. And like you said, I think you got a point. Probably more fun multiplayer than single player.
Yeah.
And I think their intention is to continue to go crazy with it. They've only upped the dial of crazy since the game launched. Like when they released in early access, the game was more tame than it is now. So they're just like, what if we just keep turning the dial up and see when the game stops working?
They just need the NPCs to fight back.
Well, leave that as a thing for the video. But I will say, even if you watch the trailer for this game right now on Steam, you can already see the levels of crazy this game is. Yeah, it looks like Breath of the Wild. I already said that. But the actual like footage of what you're seeing, all this automation we're talking about later, like even the trailer, you're like, this looks insane. And
the game begins with you blowing up the world, and then a god tells you, how dare you build it all over again. So there you go. If that gives you an indication, sky is not even the limit.
Sky is not even the limit. That's basically it. So so that was our game of the moment video this week. If you want to check it out, it's on our YouTube page, and you'll be able to watch the full thing on that. So, and if you want to know more about that, you go to our Discord, which we'll have links for. Other than that, this week, what I've been playing is guitar.
It's true.
I actually picked up guitar again, and it's been a while. So that's kind of what I've been focusing my attention on recently. and I don't have anything to show you or let you hear. But if that ever becomes a thing, I'll do that. Maybe I'll fit it in somewhere. So, but that's all I've been playing this week.
Hey, so I said you got to write the news music.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. See how good I can remember to be.
New intro music written by Zycia.
Maybe. I'll have to come up with a new name too. I have an alter ego for music. I'll have to figure it out. Pseudo name. Brian, did you play anything?
I've been playing Mortal Kombat X, technically XL, which is X plus a whole bunch of DLC, because that was on sale for $6.
Nice.
And Mortal Kombat 11 with a whole bunch of DLC on that as well, because that was on sale for like half off. So it was like $30. The wife and I had watched the most recent Mortal Kombat movie.
Nice.
To kind of steal her words / mini review, it's, hey, as long as you aren't worried about a plot or anything, you just want to go in there and have a little fun. It's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah. Definitely don't watch it.
Actually pretty accurate. And I guess Mortal Kombat. I mean, you don't go there for the plot anyway.
Right.
Oddly, though, and what I did tell her is that you do get plot and a story in the game. I was looking online for Mortal Kombat 9 because I was just looking to see what its story was. And you can just go on YouTube and you can see all the cutscenes all in a row. And it's a 2.5 hour block for just the cutscenes. And they don't mess around and do the fighting. When they have to do the fighting, it's basically 2 hits and they win. And they just continue on with the story. So that's just Mortal Kombat 9. And from what I heard, 10 and 11, the story really has fun and goes places. And you can skip the fights and just watch the story in it. Paying $36 for, even 6 hours of cutscenes. I'm getting better money there than I am going to the movies.
It's not.
And probably about the same level of plot and story in some movies that are out there right now.
That's a fair assessment.
But I had fun. I went through the training. I actually learned they've got pretty decent training in Mortal Kombat 10. 11 has much better training in it. It's very good. They'll even show you like these little hourglasses for the different button hits to let you know how fast or how close together you have to hit the button hits to actually do the move, which they don't show you in 10. And at some points could be a little frustrating if you're not, especially if you're new to fighting games. I haven't played fighting games realistically now for a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute for me.
Yeah. So I was like unsure, like, okay, do they want to pause here? Do they want me to like wait until the certain move finishes or gets to this point before I do the nick? It was hard to tell. With 11, it was right there. You could see it. You could it like had this thing go right down the hourglass. You could see how long for each of the button presses, so you could build up the habit. I thought it was amusing that I went through all the training in Mortal Kombat 10, and it gave me a rare achievement that only 5.33% of players had actually completed the training.
That's funny. I mean, you wouldn't think I would probably. I don't know if I'd ever complete the training in that game. I would have probably just dove right into it. So,
yeah. And I don't complete the training thinking that like, hey, it's going to be making me a master, but it's nice because it gives you ideas of what the options that you have are, so that when you're playing the game, both versions, both of these 2 different games, you can just hit a button and you will go into a menu and you can see your move list. So you can be like, oh, okay, this guy's grabbing me a lot. I need to like work on throws, or this guy's blocking a lot. I need to work on throws, or I need to work on getting, throw reversals. So, okay, what's my movement again there? So I can start practicing it against this guy. So they have that available. It's nice too, because while there are some easy fatalities in there, they also have the mystery of like, if you haven't unlocked or learned a fatality yet, they don't show it to you. And then when you learn a fatality, then it shows up in your move list. So, and the wife was really, really impressed with the graphics of Mortal Kombat 10. And then she came and saw 11, because 11 actually has an update for the current generation the new generation, and it looks real good. So, and she was actually more excited than I was. The other night, she was still playing past midnight while I was going to sleep next to her, to the button clashing and even the sounds of the TV. So, so far, it's a hit in this household for a game that released, years ago for Mortal Kombat X, and I think it was late 2019, early 2020 that 11 hit, if I remember correctly. But go check them out. I don't think they're on sale anymore on the Xbox, but still, they're old enough that they're going to hit sales again.
Yeah, for sure.
I played Returnal. It's a new PS5 exclusive that came out, $70. It is a roguelike, kind of like sci-fi thriller game. So you're like could just continuously go through these procedurally generated maps, essentially, or a series of rooms or areas, I should say, and try and progress through the game's main story. It's designed to be a relatively difficult game. I haven't played too much of it. A couple of hours. Made it to the first boss. Died to it when it was one hit from death, which really pissed me off. And then I haven't actually gone back since. I've just been kind of going through the maps and dying to stupid things, checking things out. So I'm kind of excited. The game is really, really good. It plays really well. The haptic, like the triggers are just amazing. Like the way that the guns work, like the different pressure that you put on it is different fire modes and things like that. The weapons in the game all feel unique and they play unique. It's like special abilities, like strong attacks that are just great. The sword that you get in the game, like the melee play is great. Like there's just a lot to the game so far. So I'm excited to get more into that and then talk more about it later.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, that's what we've been playing this week. As I said, we'll go ahead and get into our short attention news.
Sorry, I was amused by Attack of the Beard again. Starting off, Microsoft does not make a profit on Xbox consoles. Shocker to none. Well, most people, especially analysts, have said that for quite some time. What makes it unique saying it this time is that it's actually confirmed now, and from such an odd place. Essentially, because of Epic versus Apple, the lawsuit, they called upon a vice president from Microsoft to, under oath, answer whether or not they make a profit from selling their hardware. To which the answer was no. So this is the first time that we've gotten something official from Microsoft, even through a weird place, that confirms that. Just to finish it up really quick, Epic pointed this out because they were pointing out the reason why consoles, that it's kind of okay that they do a 30% revenue share on their licensing, is because they don't make a profit on their hardware and they're making it up there. Whereas Apple and other places do, which is why they should not be doing that type of split.
Makes sense.
Interesting. Our next story is, we've discussed this before, Twitch is under fire once more for double standards. Surprise, surprise. A cosplayer was recently banned, only for a day, I believe, but still banned, for doing a cosplay stream where her name is KK Sparkles, and she does body painting on stream, but it's cosplay body painting. So for like May 4th, she decided to do like a Star Wars inspired C-3PO costume body paint onto herself, and it was reported, and Twitch banned her for a day. The reason why this is ending up in them being under fire is because there's currently what they call a hot tub stream meta, with a lot of people wearing inappropriate clothing according to Twitch TOS and getting away with it. So we'll see where that goes.
Definitely double standards. That is for sure.
Yep.
So also with the Apple versus Epic news, some other information has actually leaked out because of this as well. And this one actually pertains to Rocket League. So because of some of the documents being leaked to the public by Epic, they released there's like an ad almost that was released, and it shows Rocket League, and it talks about their new launcher system that they were going to be bringing to as a platform to bring the game with better UI essentially. And one of the things on this thing it said competitive soccer-based PvP with rocket power cars, talking about the game. And then 2 new products on the horizon for mobile, which they did have a mobile hand game that's not to be confused with. This is called Rocket League Sideswipe. This is a 2D version game. This is not Rocket League. But one of the things they did say was that cross-platform, cross-progress between mobile, PC, console, and then a mobile alpha beta long before it's released on the other platforms. So they said, a next generation client with full game experience across all platforms, including mobile. So this was actually something that's leaked, and apparently it's even as close as Q2, which is basically now of this year, that this may potentially be a cross-platform game that you can play on your phone now. So it doesn't surprise me. Fortnite is the same thing, and this is Epic, so I could totally see that happening really quickly.
So long time ago, back in the days of the Xbox and PS2, there was released a Diablo type game called Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. And company recently decided to remake it, and that's being released later this summer. Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance. They're making a complete remake based off of that game in general. But that wasn't enough. Apparently, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance got a 4K refresh to the original game, and it's going to be released on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. I'm pretty sure the S as well. I think that's just... And it's going to be released tomorrow, May 7th. Granted, it's $29.99, so your mileage may vary on a game that is basically Diablo-esque clone from quite a number of years ago.
I'll probably still end up checking it out if it's an action RPG. So
I'm going to wait to see if it shows up free later on Xbox Game Pass and then try it out, considering it's not even the full remake yet.
On the note of Diablo, Activision Blizzard released some interesting information for their Q1 2021 financials. Essentially, the main highlight here, or low light if you're from Blizzard, is that it's lost nearly 29% of its overall active player base in 3 years. Revenue is still up overall, but the loss in player base is not a good sign. Granted, they are still pushing out numbers saying that their player base is going up, but that is their overall, like, how many people have touched the game or at least logged in on their free weekends, not who's actually active consistently. So when they release their actual numbers, it does turn out that over the last 3 years, they've lost 29% of their player base. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they get that back, all things considered, because they've been losing ground in a lot of different genres. World of Warcraft's really the only place where they've maintained a decent pace and retained a decent amount of their people, but obviously Diablo 3 has grown old and kind of stale, and Overwatch is just Overwatch.
Makes sense. So Sony has announced that they're actually filing a patent for being able to connect your player with experts to help yourself in parts of games that may be frustrating or complex and maybe not be able to pass. So this kind of sounds similar to what Nintendo had done in the past with the NES, with the tip caller hotline, where you could pick up the phone and dial the 1-800 Nintendo number and talk to a person on the other phone that was playing the game with you and give you tips and tricks. But this is actually a step further from that. So what this is actually going to be doing is allowing people to be an expert to join your game, potentially take over your character, and then provide the service they need to get past whatever part that you're having issues with, or potentially even maybe instructing you how to do it and then showing you, and then you'd be able to take your control back of the character. To note, though, this is not something new for Sony. They've done something similar to this in the past, is letting your friends do that on PS4, letting your friends take over, join a session with you, and kind of help you play through a part. So the fact that they're kind of putting a patent on this seems like either that worked well enough that they think this may be a good idea, or maybe now because the PS5 is out, they need to do the same. But it seems like that's something they're looking into, and be kind of interesting to see how that turns out in the future.
Interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say that if we were swearing, I would swear a lot during this next short. But we're not, so I'm going to be good. This one goes back to CD Projekt Red, and apparently CD Projekt Red's higher up are getting some big bonuses. So if you don't know, CD Projekt Red is creator of games such as The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077. They do profit sharing. So that's they share. They do 20% profit sharing, 10% goes to their executive team, and then the other 10% goes to the remaining 856 employees. Their bonuses that are being received is $28 million is going to those 5 lead executives that are getting the bonuses, and the ones who apparently were the ones that misled people. So they're all making about $5.6 million in bonuses this year each. Meanwhile, all the people who worked on the game and did all that overtime get a nice bonus of $32,000, but certainly not the like 60-ish thousand that I think they probably deserve for having to work on that slog of a game. So there you go. Way to go, CD Projekt Red.
Always
making
impressing
us even more sad.
So speaking of games that are clones or ripoffs of other games, there is a new game coming out called Super Zoo Story, and it's been kind of taking a lot of traction on Reddit and also on Twitter. But the screenshots of this game look like almost identical to Stardew Valley. We had mentioned previously there's a game called Coral Island that's coming out that is definitely influenced by Stardew Valley, but it does have its own look, and their Kickstarter is going amazing, and that's going to be actually a great game. Whereas this one, not only did they take the style, so like I said earlier, like Breath of the Wild, it looks like Breath of the Wild for Craftopia, but no, they literally took like all of the assets, all of the same tiles for when you're talking, like the borders and everything, even the character design and even dialogues are identical to Stardew Valley. And like I said, this is literally blowing up all over Twitter, and it's still considered it's still considered in development. But I can definitely see this having a lawsuit around it if they don't change something about this game, because this is literally identical.
So Konami, known for their gyms and pachinko parlors in Japan, but certainly not known for making video games anymore, decided to say that they are not attending E3, which they can't attend anyway because it's going to be a virtual conference anyway. To shocker of none.
Yeah, pretty much.
They did say, though, that they apparently are working a number of key projects, so keep an eye out for them, and they'll give more information later. Yeah, I can't wait until they show their next Solid Snake themed pachinko.
Basically. So, kind of backing that up as well. I thought that too. As soon as I said that, was terrible. Don't flag us. Don't say it. So the list of E3 attendees now, publishers and developers, actually has grown, even though Konami decided that they're not going to attend. But announced now Square Enix, Sega, Bandai, Namco Entertainment, Xseed Games, and Gearbox Entertainment has confirmed that they will be attending. Along with that, we mentioned before, Nintendo has already signed up, Xbox, Capcom, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Brothers, and also Koch Media. So this will be all, again, for that virtual style E3 that they're going to use this year, which will be kind of cool because we'll get some of those people that aren't, like us, who never really attend E3, and be able to check that out as well. So those are the new list of people who will be attending. So there's gonna be a lot of information, a lot of things being talked about. So it'll be good to check out.
Our next and final story comes from No Man's Sky, which is a procedurally generated space simulation game. Essentially, the players in this game have built large communities, and it's got base building in it, so they've built almost entire cities. And one small group of players has decided to have their own kind of fun at the expense of many others by spreading something in the game that is called the infestation. They are abusing a game function / exploit to essentially build over the player / community built bases and cover them in what quite literally looks like Zerg creep from StarCraft. So the community is kind of up in arms currently, asking for a resolution to it, as it does cause a lot of problems. Can't really clean it up. Once it's there, it's there.
Makes sense. So that is our shorts for now. So moving on to our emails. That's why I grabbed my phone if you're watching, because I want to check and see if we have any emails. And it looks like we do have one from James the Great. I don't know if they're related to James Z Sucks. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're cousins or something.
It's James the Great is James the Sucks' father.
Oh, okay. So this game,
he's from the greatest generation. He's a boomer.
Oh, okay. So the subject of this is titled Decisions. And the email says, which game that you lose all your inventory items on does Bruno like more? Returnal or Outriders? These are tough questions.
So...
But one's by design, isn't it?
Well, yeah, one is... Well, I mean, I guess technically they're both by design, because Outriders was just poor design decisions that resulted in it. So really, it was by design. It wasn't even poor design decisions. They specifically came out and said, we intend to set up our server infrastructure this way. This is how we want to do it. So, I'd say it depends, right? Outriders did finally, as of yesterday, refund my gear and fix my account. However, my entire stash is non-existent. All of my mods are wiped, and I didn't get back any of my resources. So even though I have max rolled godlike gear, I don't have max rolled godlike gear of the kind that I actually wanted, that I had in my storage. So that sucks. I think for hours played, as of right now, Outriders still wins, because I have played that game for a total of 130 hours. But I think for polish and just general stability, effort, coordination, art style, gameplay mechanics, subsystems in the game, pretty much everything really, Returnal wins. Just on hours, Outriders wins. That's all Outriders has, is it has more hours of game time in it. So Returnal, I guess, is the final answer. 4 hours of Returnal trumps 130 to 140 hours of Outriders. I said all of this without swearing a single time.
I'm impressed. This is I'm sure that was a feat.
And you've reminded me that after this, I have to go and update my review on Outriders to further slam them for sucking at everything that they've tried to achieve.
Great. So those were our emails for this week. So thanks for that. If you guys want to send us an email, feel free to send us an email at goa@sasgaming.com, where we can read it out loud here for us to answer. And you can always email us what you've been doing, any hobbies or anything that you're picking up, or if you have questions for us, feel free to do that as well. So send us an email.
Waiting for that update.
Yeah, send us that email. Show us the update of that little tiny house thing that you're building. All right. So if you want to, that's what got our attention this week. And if you are listening to the podcast, you can check us out live on Twitch on Thursdays, starting at 9 Eastern. We do our podcast live there, where we then, after this is over, we do throw it up onto the interwebs, up on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch the video there. if you are interested in supporting more content like this and you are wanting to support us in a way, we do have a Patreon account open now, patreon.com/sasgaming. One of the perks there that if you do become a subscriber, you are able to get the podcast ad free, along with all of our YouTube content uploaded there as well. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want to help us out a little bit further than that, feel free to do that. We would totally appreciate it. So as we said before, we're looking for sponsors. If anybody wants to donate a sixth little child here, we'll take it. So anyway, if you want to follow me, I'm Zycia, XYCIA on Twitch, or XYCIA Gaming on Instagram or Twitter. I don't post a whole lot on Twitter and Instagram. I'm trying to remember to do that, and I posted a few things in the last day or so hopefully I'll continue that. I just don't want to post pictures of myself. Like, I don't know. It's just, there's only so many pictures of myself I can take, and I don't know. I don't really do that much. So anyway, that's my information.
I suffer from the same thing. Unfortunately, I'm not posting enough on there, because usually Twitter and Instagram's the easiest place to find Phoenix Nova, PHOENNIX Nova. You put an underscore in between there for Twitch. And through those, you can make your way to my YouTube site, which I'm almost halfway there to being able to actually have a usable channel name instead of a random set of letters and numbers. And you're going to find a whole bunch of Lego build videos there and the occasional cameo. In fact, the most recent one, not even the most recent one, but one of the recent ones has a couple cameos of Lucy on it, and I slowed down the action there for that.
Cool. What about you, Bruno?
You can find me on Twitch at Dymyrn, DYMYRN, or Twitter at Dymyrn Gaming. I do not post often on social media. I really suck at social media.
Well, I would say you suck in general, but that's fine.
Sure. I suck in general, I guess. I mean, not as bad as Mike, but, we can't all be that terrible. I will be streaming. I say this every time. I will be streaming more often coming up soon. I have ordered a capture card so that I can start streaming PS5 games. So things like Returnal, Neo 2, I don't know what else. Many games. Ghost of Tsushima,
Astrobot.
All these games I want to replay. Ratchet and Clank when that comes out. I may actually pick up Resident Evil Village and play that as well on stream coming up here shortly.
Cool. I can't wait till Mike plays that. That's going to be a blast.
Not going to play that. Anyway, again, if you want links to any of this stuff, sasgaming.com. You can find all of our links there. So feel free to do that, and that's where you'll find all of this information that we're talking about. Until next time, that is it for today. We appreciate you guys out there and gals that are listening or watching or somehow interacting with us in any way. Without you guys, we'd still be doing this, but it just wouldn't be as entertaining. So we appreciate y'all out there.
Entertaining for us.
Yeah. Anyway, until next time, be safe. Obviously, get vaccinated if you can. If you want to, wear a mask, all that fun stuff. Have a good day. Y'all take care.